Sherlock Holmes uses logic, patience, and precision to trap a murderer who used fear and superstition as his weapons. In life, too, how often do we let fear or false beliefs control our decisions instead of trusting our reason and
Fear wears the mask of supernatural, only logic can unmask it. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Brunch with Books. Today we are diving into one of the most gripping chapters from the Hounds of Baskervilles, the climax, where Sherlock Holmes unravels fear itself. And we are mapping it with Think Again by Adam Grant. So I will request Dr. Geeta to explain the next chapters of Hounds of Baskervilles. Dr. Geeta, over to you.
Hi everyone, welcome to BWB. Today's episode is the most thrilling one as we reveal the secrets and unmask the identities of the criminals in the most chilling and atmospheric adventure in the Sherlock Holmes series through the literature's greatest detective, Sherlock Holmes. So when Sir Charles Baskervilles is found dead in the moor under mysterious circumstances, all eyes turn to the age-old legend of the demonic hound that haunts the Baskerville family. But is the danger truly supernatural, or is there something more sinister at play? So the novel is a masterclass in suspense, logic, and storytelling. So let us travel deep into the heart of the moor, where secrets refuse to stay buried. So what happens now? We find that in the last episode, Holmes is hiding in the caves and Watson finds him out. He finds that Sherlock Holmes is in the caves and he is really surprised and shocked. But then they also hear the scream of someone, and when they rush out, they see the escaped convict Selden dead there and wearing the clothes of Sir Henry. And also we see Stapleton comes rushing there thinking that Sir Henry is dead. And he also mentions that he had invited Sir Henry to come, but he hadn't come to meet him. So now Holmes and Watson, they understand that something is at play. And Holmes also gives information to Watson that Stapleton's sister is actually his wife. And even Watson also shares the information that Lady Laura, she had written to Sir Charles, inviting him to come to that rendezvous place where he was actually killed that night. And she hadn't turned up. Now they connect all the facts together. And also, incidentally, when Stapleton has come to the place where the convict has died, everything seems to tie together. But Holmes needs more information. He needs facts. He wants, to catch Stapleton red-handed, and he's going to use Sir Henry as a bait. But he tells Watson, "Don't tell Sir Henry all this information, and with more information he will be working on it." So now, when Watson takes Holmes to home, Sir Henry is surprised because suddenly Holmes has appeared without any luggage. So, anyways, they have their dinner, and Holmes' eyes are drawn to a portrait on the wall, and he asks many questions on the ancestor of Sir Henry. So now Sir Henry says, "I have not gone out today at all because you asked me not to go anywhere alone, and I have missed Stapleton's dinner invite." So now Holmes tells him, "So you go there tomorrow. You go to the dinner, the appointment, but Watson is not able to come with you because we both are going to London." So Henry is not at all happy. Anyways, Holmes tells him, "When you're coming back, come through the moor and come in a straight road. Don't deviate." So the next day, Holmes and Watson go to the railway station, and secretly they meet the Inspector Lestrade from the Scotland Yard. He has come to help them. Now they go to the moor and they wait behind the boulders, waiting for Henry to have his dinner and walk through the moor towards the Baskerville Hall. So they are lying in wait for the hound to appear, for Stapleton to do something, and they are just waiting. They don't know what is going to happen. They are also very worried because fog is very thick, and Henry is not finished his dinner, and he is not appearing at all. And suddenly now Henry has approached, and he steps out of the fog as if stepping out of a curtain, and he is walking towards the Baskervilles Hall. And suddenly Holmes hears the pitter patter of running feet, and he says, and he cocks his pistol and he waits. And suddenly, even though Watson and Holmes and the inspector are ready, they are suddenly taken aback by the apparition that happens, the scene unfolding in front of them. Through the fog, there, bounces out, there comes out a hound, demonic hound, which is huge, like a as size of a lioness, black in color, and eyes rimmed with fire, and the mouth rimmed with fire, and like glowing with a white, glowing kind of a silvery glow. And they are so shocked. The inspector is so shocked, he just flings himself on the ground, and even Holmes is speechless, and he is, like frozen in time. By that time, the hound is bounding and running. It is bounding after Henry, and it is almost upon him. And Henry is thrown onto the ground, and the hound is at his throat before the Holmes wakes up and runs like the wind and shoots at the hound, and he empties 5 rounds of bullets at the flank, and it gives a loud roar and rolls down. And then they see whether Henry is dead, because he is unconscious there, and they loosen his shirt collar and see that he is unharmed. And it takes a lot of time to recover, and everybody is so shaken up. Now suddenly Henry opens his eyes and he says, what is happening now? Holmes and Watson tell him to wait, and they run to the Merripit house where Stapleton is there. And they know for sure that he may not be found. He might have escaped into the moors, because he has heard the gunshot there. And they run inside and they start searching for his wife. And they find her gagged and bound in a upstairs room. And she asks, "Is he safe? Is Henry safe?" And they say that your husband has escaped. So we see here Sherlock Holmes uses logic, patience, and precision to trap a murderer who used fear and superstition as his weapons. In life, too, how often do we let fear or false beliefs control our decisions instead of trusting our reason and intuition? So, what are your reflections on this, Siddharth?
I love this part of the end because it's where the hound appears, and then we come to know the we can come to unravel all that mystery there was around Hound of Baskervilles. Where was this hound, and who was this hound, or who was the owner of the hound, and all that we come to know about all this. But then I get reminded about an incident where I also had an experience with a hound, though it was a little different hound. So it was somewhere in a forest we were going, and we were three people. We had a plan for a picnic, and we went inside the forest. There was a beautiful waterfall. We went to see it. We had food around the place, and then we thought, okay, let's see the sunset. And we went towards a little, there was a cliff area at the edge of those mountains. So we saw the sunset, and then we were returning. While returning, somehow one of my friends, they had left their lunch box, whatever food we had brought to the place, and he had forgotten his box. So we had come back. Almost we were out of the forest, but then we had to go back, and it was getting little dark, and but still we had torches and all that. So we thought, okay, let's go and get your lunch box. And by the time we went there, we were not till the point where the lunchbox was there, but then we just were in the middle of somewhere, and we saw a dog-like, animal moving towards that place, and it was not directly we could see, but we thought, okay, there may be more families around, and they might have brought their dogs and all that, and we went towards it. Uh, when we were walking, because typically the ground was having those dry leaves and all, it could hear our footsteps. It just turned around and looked at us. And we were like, I think it was 200, less than that, 200, 150 meters away from us. And it looked at us. And then my friend, whose lunchbox we were planning to take back, said, "Sir, it doesn't look like a dog." I also looked at it, and I realized it was not a dog, it was a big wolf, a hound waiting for us. Or I don't know what it was hungry or whatever, but it could have, it could have, jumped on us, and we could have become its meat. Now, at that moment, only one thing struck us, that typically animals are afraid of light, and that's when we actually put the light on its face, and it stared at us for some time, and then it moved away. That one moment of maybe common sense or intelligence helped us save our moment on that day. But I also link it to the fact that maybe when we talk about assumptions, most of the times we are doing a lot of assumptions and we are taking decisions also based on assumptions, then we may completely go wrong. But at times we actually have to dig the truth behind these and deduce from the observations and quick insights through those observations and then take a decision. So that is what helped us that night. But I know that we should learn from Sherlock Holmes, definitely, that every small minute note we take through our lives, learnings is important and is going to help us some way or the other. So that is how I've learned in that Hound situation. But I love this story of Hound of Baskervilles, and I'm so happy it is like the last session we are doing with it. Over to you, Shitapa. What's your thought?
Thank you, Siddharth, for one more amazing story from your life. And yes, this time it is of Wolf, and we are discussing Hounds of Baskervilles. And I can relate one of the similar from my life. I was all alone at home, and it was night, and suddenly I heard a persistent soft knock. Okay, and I was wondering where that knock is coming from. So, and that time the door cracked and it cracked slightly, and I was like, what is happening in the home today? And I froze. I was a little scared, but I thought, let me at least go and check. And when I was just going and checking, I suddenly saw a shadow forming on the wall, like a round something, someone's head from behind. So that was even more scary. And for a second, I felt like, oh my God, this is something wrong which is happening today at night. And it was almost around, 11 p.m. at night, or when all these things just started. And I was thinking, who could be at, this hour of time when someone is knocking at door? Usually my friends call before coming. So was someone there is what I was wondering, who is it? So I just paused and I thought, let me just, take a look at the door and figure out what it is someone actually there. So I thought calmly that lets me go and check that at least. And I went to the door and I peeped through the, peephole, and no one was there. So, and the knocking suddenly stopped. And I was like, okay, maybe someone was passing by and just knocked the door and went, I don't know. So I just switched off the lights and I was trying to sleep. And that's when I could, hear few more knocks, and I couldn't find anyone at door. So I don't know what to do. And that shadow remained. Okay. So I thought today I have to stay with this knock and shadow. And I just calmed myself, thinking it could be an insect, it could be a bird, it could be anything else. Nothing to worry. I just took the blanket on my face and I slept. Early in the morning, I heard the knock again. That time, when I woke up, I went straight to the window and I thought, let me check what is around. Oh, is there anything? And then that time I saw that a pigeon was calmly sitting beside the window, and he was pecking lightly. And that head of the pigeon was the shadow at the wall. At that moment, I just smiled and I thought, oh, it was not a ghost, it was nobody, but it was just a pigeon. And if I was overthinking, I couldn't have slept that night. But thankfully, I paused, I was calm, and I thought it could be something which is, in and around, but I am not able to guess at the moment. I'll figure out in the morning. And that with that clarity, I slept, and I found the truth is so simple that it's just a pigeon. So with this, I can understand, if you can take fear calmly, you can manage things better, and you will reveal the truths through observations soon. So I will like to ask Sujata to add on from what are the learnings from Adam Grant over here. Sujata, over to you.
Thank you, Sritapa. Just what you said, like you imagined the head of a pigeon to be a ghost, but you took action. You went, looked, and saw that it's actually a pigeon. not a ghost. So the Adam Grant also tells us that clarity comes through action. You shouldn't just sit there. You have to take action and just not endless thinking. So he tells us that being a great thinker isn't about sitting alone in a corner. It's about learning through action. So one of his most striking examples he gives is that of Joy Volambini, the MIT researcher who discovered that facial recognition software was biased. It failed to recognize dark-skinned faces accurately. She didn't just sit there thinking, someone should fix this. She took action. She started testing systems. She gathered evidence. And through these experiments, she helped someone should fix this, bring about major changes in how technology companies rethink AI bias. Adam Grant's point, sometimes the only way to solve a problem is to get your hands dirty. You test, you experiment, you adjust. That's how you turn doubt into clarity. Now let's see how Sherlock Holmes practically models this principle. In chapters 13 and 14, Holmes shows us exactly how action, not overthinking, solves mysteries. He sets the trap. He uses Henry as bait. He doesn't theorize from afar. He's on the moor, in the dark, putting the plan into action. Both Holmes and Stapleton were planners, both of them. But there's a difference. Stapleton used deception and fear. Superstition, he used superstition, and disguised it as science to control people. Holmes, on the contrary, used patience, logic, and lawful means to expose him. Holmes wasn't guessing. He took clear strategic actions to unmask the villain. Like Joy Bulambini, Holmes knew evidence speaks louder than theory. So, sometimes like Holmes or like Joy, the only way forward is to step onto the moor, take action, and see where the footprints lead. So now let me hand over to Jasbir and let's hear what she has to say. Over to you, Jasbir.
Thank you, Sujata. Yes, I agree that overthinking leads to inaction, and the right course of action is to think, plan, and take action. And one of the biggest examples is in the case of our Indian, the Indian history of astronomy. We had Rakesh Sharma who went to space in 1984, and now we are fortunate that the Indian government took action and spent around 500 crores to actually get a seat allotted for Subhanshu Shukla. So Subhanshu Shukla is a group captain and he was a test pilot with the Indian Air Force. And he's also part as a Gagan Yatri, as an astronaut with ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization. So he successfully, he was successful as the first ISRO astronaut to visit the ISS and the second Indian after Rakesh Sharma to travel to space. And all this happened thanks to the Indian government having the the attitude of taking action, spending that, and funding this entire mission. So we are fortunate to have all these people who do not just think but who take action, and these are the best results that we can get out of action. Inaction and overthinking will lead to nothing. So I completely agree that what Adam Grant is saying, that there is clarity only when you take action, and is when your thoughts are actually being given and a proper end result. So now I hand it over to Shritapa.
Hi all, I hope you are enjoying the show till now. And if you are, so please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And with that, I hope you are enjoying. I'm giving it to Geeta. Dr. Geeta, please continue with the Hounds of Baskervilles.
Thank you, Shritapa. And I was just reflecting on what Jaspreet said, and it is, I agree totally, and it's such a proud moment. And also, when we just overthink and not reflect and not take action, then it is not going to go anywhere. So, what is important is to reflect, observe, and take action, and that is exactly what Holmes has done. So, looking at the concluding chapters of the Hounds of Baskervilles, we see that When Holmes and Watson go in search of Beryl, Stapleton's wife, and find her gagged and tied in the bedroom, and they release her, they come to understand that she was in acute fear of her husband. He had ill-treated her, abused her, and kept her in so much of fear, so she would always listen to him. And that day, she was not willing to, let go of that. She wanted to, warn Henry of the impending danger, and because of that. Her husband had imprisoned her in the bedroom. So now she is happy that Henry is safe. But Henry is so scared, so shaken up. He has a high fever, and he is very ill for days to come. And he has to have a recoup with going to some vacation to recoup with the Dr. Mortimer. And here now, Watson and Sherlock Holmes, they come back to their Baker Street, and as they're sitting down there, Watson wants to know what is happening. So they start to retrospect, they start to think on what has happened and how did Holmes land on those, the motives, land on those clues which tied all the points together. So now Holmes says, first of all, when he came to know that the Beryl is not his sister but his wife, things started to fall into place. So he did some investigation and he came to realize that Stapleton was running a school somewhere in another country, and he was using a drunkard tutor who was very good in his teaching. Through him, the school was really doing good. And then when he passed away, so the school closed. And then he came to know that he is he can be he will be able to get the inheritance of Baskervilles heir, because he's also somewhere related to Charles. And this Holmes came to know when he looked at the portrait lining up the walls in the study room of Sir Henry. So when he investigated to the background, he came to realize that Sir Charles' brother, his son is actually Stapleton. So Stapleton is related to Charles, and he had a plan that he will do away with him. And with that idea, he came to Baskervilles. But he didn't have a concrete plan. So when Sir Charles told him that about the Hound of Baskervilles, he got the plan and he bought a hound and he started to train it. And then he used signs. He used phosphorus to make it look like luminous. And then he used Laura. And then he did not know about the existence of Sir Henry. When he came to know about him, he wanted to do away with him too. He wanted to, terminate him. And that's why he started to follow him when he had come to visit Sherlock Holmes. And there, when he saw Sherlock Holmes, he just disappeared from the scene. But what really tied the matter together was the idea that he will be inheriting the property if Henry also dies. So now everything is falling into place and all the loose ends are tied together. And we see that truth always surfaces, no matter how cleverly hidden, when you explore it deeply. And fear can be generated through man's belief system of superstition. And so, Holmes' genius lies not in magic, but in careful observation, something we should use in our daily decision making. So, in this world where truth is hidden behind false appearances, what we need is observation as a tool. So, just like Holmes, Siddharth, have you used your power of observation to uncover truth anytime in your life? Please share.
Absolutely. And I love the way how Sherlock Holmes unveils one after another the family history, and from there he derives that who can be the possible enemy of Charles and Henry and his lineage, basically, right? So one of the incidents I get reminded of is from a train. I was traveling to some place, and uh, in one of the station, a lot of passengers got into the train, and in those passengers there was a kid also. And I was curiously looking at the kid because he was a very cute kid, maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and he was looking all around like he had got into the train for the first time. And he was like looking at the window. He touched the window, those times, they had those shutters which you can actually move around, and he was actually playing around with the shutter. Then after some time he started looking at those the knobs are there, the seat knobs and all. So he was playing around and I was looking at him. I don't know, I got curious about the kid because he was cute and I wanted to just talk to him. But before talking to him, I just wanted to observe him for some time. And then while he was roaming around and observing everything in our particular coach, I saw that he started observing a person, a passenger who was sitting next to a family. They were sitting in the middle, and he started observing that person's nose. He started with the nose. Your nose is very different. So he gave that comment, and the person looked like very annoyed with that comment, and he ignored. And then he said, your eyes are also very different. So slowly he was observing that person. He was not liking at all, and he moved from where he was sitting to the next side, and the kid was ignored, so he felt bad. He came and sat next to me, and then I asked him, so what do you do? But he didn't answer me. He was still watching the person who was sitting there. And then I also observed that person, and I saw that he was really not looking like a normal passenger. He was looking fishy, and the reason for that was he was looking at everybody like he wanted to do something in middle of everybody's whatever chaos was going around in the place. And in that observation, I realized that he sat to the person's to next to a person who had kept all his mobile and phone very nicely on the couch, right? And he was reading newspaper, and this person had a intention maybe to pick up those things. And suddenly that is something which immediately happened. I don't know, that he thought about that this is a perfect time, maybe the station was coming next, and he picked up the mobile and there were some other things, and he started moving away. And I shouted, I don't know, I just saw and I shouted, he's taking away some things. So that guy who was reading the newspaper, he also got alerted, thief, thief, thief. And everybody started shouting, and he got nervous. And where you have the door, there are police people there. So they caught him, and the thief was caught. But the small observation here of the kid actually made me observe as well as an adult. And then we could observe those little things which we miss out in our general chaos of life, right? And if he would have left, that person would have been had been theft of his mobile or whatever belongings he had, and it was a big mess for that person. So this small observation helped the situation, and I loved how that kid was so curious and observatory as well at the same time, in his very small age, and he was doing that work which Sherlock Holmes typically does. And that's how I link this incident with Hound of Baskervilles. So over to you, Shitapa.
Thank you, Siddharth. And that was very interesting observation of a child and your observation, which was so well linked with Sherlock Holmes. And no, definitely a lot to learn from kids. I often feel they are someone who always inspire us, and a lot more to be like them and observe like them. So in this world, I'm sure we know that fear is often exaggerated, and truth hides behind those false appearance. And what we truly need is inner clarity and our mental magnifying glass to solve all the life's mystery. Just like Sherlock Holmes used to, he used to use his calm logic to cut through these illusions. And I believe we all face these moments, and fear tries to, just distract us. But we should do our judgment through calm head. And with this, I will ask Sujata to continue with Adam Grant's learning for us. Sujata, over to you.
Thank you, Shritapa. So there are so many takeaways. We can relate so many things from real life from these two books, these two masterpieces. Now, in Think Again, Part 3, Adam Grant he keeps reminding us answers don't arrive fully formed. You uncover them by being curious, asking better questions, and putting pieces together over time. One of Grant's standout examples is from Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund. Their founder, Ray Dalio, famously built a company culture where people question everything, even their boss. Why? Because truth doesn't survive in an echo chamber. Through constant and honest feedback and patience, Delio's team finds clarity not through guessing, but through challenging assumptions. So, Grant's big message here is rethinking isn't about quick answers, it's about slow, deliberate, thoughtful discovery. Now, back to Holmes, who practically lives out this principle. At last, we return in chapter 15, we return to Baker Street, their home, and Holmes explains everything in full. Stapleton's true identity, that's revealed. His motive, greed and ambition. How he manipulated people using fear and superstition, exposed. But did you notice something? Holmes didn't get there through guesses. He didn't leap to conclusions back on the moor. He asked questions, gathered clues, withheld judgment, and waited until the whole truth surfaced. Just like Dalio's team. No shortcuts, no assumptions, just careful observation and patience. And what does Holmes prove? That fear is man made. Superstition can be manipulated, but truth, real truth, always survives careful scrutiny. So, in a world where fear is exaggerated, and truth can hide behind appearances, as just now from Siddharth incident we learned, and from yours. What we need most is patience and curiosity. So, like Holmes, sometimes what happens is that we find that the most important mysteries aren't on a foggy moor, they're right in front of us, waiting to be seen clearly. But we sometimes, if we don't observe carefully, we miss them. So now let's hear from Jasveer if she has something to add on to this, her perspective. Jasveer, over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, Sujata. Yes, I agree with you and agree with Adam Grant about that having the patience and the questioning will lead us to proper conclusions, proper decision making. And a very great example is the 360-degree appraisal that most corporates follow, which is a multi-rate of feedback. It is a process through feedback is obtained from the employee's peers, seniors, and the juniors. So it's like a 360-degree appraisal. And this helps each human being, each employee to question what is happening. So it's not like based on that kind of fear, or it's not based on any kind of pressures from their boss, or the kind of fear that is developed because the person is my boss, I cannot rate them. So it helps in having a proper assessment of an individual as an employee, because the assessment comes not only from the bosses but also from the juniors and peers. So it's like a 360-degree assessment of a person, and this gives an overall vision to the company to decide whether a particular person, in what areas they need improvement, and how that person's role needs to be deferred, and what kind of assignments that person has to be given, and obviously also in deciding whether a person deserves the promotion or not. So it's an overall process that is being followed. So there is questioning, there is curiosity, there is observation, there are all these factors put together, and it helps for the organization, for the HR, especially the HR, to help decide on incentives and bonuses and also promotions. So yes, I believe all these qualities of questioning, curiosity, and being able to come to an proper judgment and analysis are very important in all spheres of life. So now I hand it over to Shritapa, and let's see what she has to add to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasbir, and very nicely explained. Yes, we have one more such example for students, like marks system is so overwhelming because if you do not score high, it suddenly gets that fear of getting judged by society, fear of not performing well, fear of that I'm not capable enough, and all those things creep in. Instead, if we can just step back and see where our focus is, where our strength is, and calmly decide that what our interest is, instead of comparing someone and bringing our confidence down, because every individual is very uniquely blessed or gifted with something they excel at. And if we just focus there, without getting distracted about marks and comparing ourselves with others, not chasing on something some as minor as scores. I think that is where you can see much clearly how good or how capable a person is, or how much strength a person or individual has within to be successful in life. It is just a fear of society or some other person performing is what we are just comparing and draining ourselves with. So that was an interesting conversation today which we had. And to conclude, I think we had great learnings. As a takeaway, I could say that clarity comes through action and not through endless thinking. And the second takeaway which I can get from these two books is that truth doesn't shout, it is revealed gradually through curiosity, questioning, and patience. So, with this, I would like to end this amazing episode of ours and this book, Hounds of Baskervilles and the Think Again. We have wrapped up these two books with some very inspiring and relatable insights from all these speakers with me today. Thank you again. See you next time, same time, same place, 5 p.m. on Thursdays. Bye bye. Take care.